Good morning, my peoples. It's your main man, Solace here. I want to basically break down something for the people because I feel like we have to acquire knowledge. But we must know what knowledge is. Because as of now, we have researching books and researching men that we call scholars. And this is how we pretty much come to acquire knowledge in this day and time from being taught through books in men, which is one and the same. Because if you're being physically taught by a man speaking to you, or you're being physically taught by a book that a man wrote, it is all being taught by a man. Mind you, we know that life started before a man. There is more life than just a man. So understanding life is the true purpose of all. And this is knowledge, understanding life. How do you understand life and know? From sight, not from the sound of a man's voice. You learn from looking at the life that you are in. So you know you're in earth, so you have to start to observe the things in earth and connect them. This is how you acquire knowledge. We don't do that. What we do is listen to men, and then we say these men are prophets because they speak of things to come. Meaning, I had a brother on my comment the other day say Dr. Malachi York spoke a lot of things that are happening now. And this goes back to prophet because you have to think. A prophet speaks prophecy. See see the similarities? A prophet speaks prophecy, meaning he speaks what hasn't come, what hasn't happened. He speaks of something that is to come or that will happen. So we call it prophecy because it came from a prophet. Mind you, the weatherman can tell you the weather that is to come in 3 days. Has nothing to do with because he's enlightened or the hand of God is on him. Has nothing to do with that. He is telling you what anyone could tell you, or you could tell yourself if you had understanding on how to read the weather. And the only way to truly do this is to observe Earth. So the knowledge the weatherman is giving you, he got from the earth. The same thing I am telling you to get from. Meaning the weatherman can observe whatever he wants from earth and then tell you whatever he wants. Doesn't mean the weatherman is perceiving right. We have to stop thinking just because a person is the weatherman that whatever they say about the weather has to be right. It's not how knowledge works. Just because a prophet speaks something doesn't mean he's special. All of this is bullshit. I could tell you things that are going to pass, are going to come to pass, meaning things that are going to happen. I could do that right now because I have understanding on life. Once you have understanding on life, you already know what's going to happen. It's just like a kid. If you see a little kid having sex before they should, being as though you've lived life and you've been through this, you already know what's going to happen. Now, you can tell that kid that and they'll say, damn, he told me this was going to happen. But you're not special because any grown-up could have told him that. So we got to truly understand what knowledge is and what getting knowledge is. A book is not going to give you knowledge on life and death. We have to understand. Understanding life is the whole point of everything. Grasping life is how you grasp everything that is in it, meaning math, books. All of these things came from the life. They are things that are trying to describe or explain the life. You pull from these things as if they're the source. Mind you, they came from something. The book came from a tree. You can gain more knowledge from observing and studying a tree than the book. That's fact. You can gain more knowledge studying a tree than you can studying a book. Y'all pull for the book. Solace pulls for the tree. There's a big difference in the knowledge acquired. You can learn a lot from observing a man as opposed to observing and listening to the words coming out his mouth. It's a big difference. You got to look at it from this perspective. The follower doesn't fully believe the teacher. The teacher doesn't fully believe himself because he's a follower too of whoever taught him. So you see the chain reaction? One man is teaching one man, and then he is teaching that, and this is how men become lost, because there's no pulling from all. It's just that line of knowledge. Look at it like this. Dr. Malachi York done what he's done. His followers don't try to look outside of what he says, or look at him as just a man who had a certain level of knowledge, and you can use that knowledge that he may have had as a stepping stool to more knowledge. Don't move in that way. The followers just follow. They hold him at a place over themselves. And this is why they never ascend past the knowledge of Dr. Malachi York. Mind you, Dr. Malachi York failed, and this is not a disrespect or a jab in no way, shape, form, or fashion. I got respect for the brother. But I just look at things, I observe things. This is how you acquire knowledge. The man failed. He was trying to build a powerful nation of people. But the people have no power, because when those people came and got him and locked him up, the powerful nation that he built up did nothing. And this is not an insult to the nation. This is just an observation, and this is what we all are supposed to do. This is how you learn. This is how you learn to say, okay, Dr. Malachi York, boom, 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 he failed. He didn't succeed. None of the people in the past succeeded. So we have to stop holding them at a high reverence, because they're just people like us. Hold the earth hold things that been here longer than you at a high reverence, because they can teach you more than any man. A man doesn't live any longer than you. A tree, certain animals, the earth, these things live. The earth lived billions of years, millions of years. Trees live thousands of years. Some animals too. But you pulling from men who are only here for what? 2 jubilees? Come on, we got to get to an understanding. And a jubilee is like 50 years. Sometimes I'd be getting lost in when I speak, because it's a lot of knowledge up there. So I use any word. But a man's only here for about 10 decades. So you figure, why are you pulling from that? All he can tell you is, all a man can tell you is what he's observed in his lifetime. Meaning, if a man is 23 years old, all he can tell you is about a decade worth of information. I say a decade because first 5 years, a child can't really tell you nothing about that. So we got to get to a level of understanding. A man that's 80 years old can only give you about 80 years worth of history. And you got to remember, half of it's going to be something that was told to him, because we just go with what we're told. We see this and we know this. So this is how we are acquiring knowledge, and this is why no one's truly getting anywhere. Because we're reaching for books, things that men carved on rocks. We think reading the pyramid text is going to teach us about life. Mind you, the pyramids predate the text. But you pull for the text as opposed to pulling and observing the actual pyramid without the dumb shit others placed on it. Just look at it for yourself, unbiasedly. Before anyone told you anything about it, look at it through those eyes. Because that's where the truth lies. Gotta understand that. You gotta understand what was carved on the pyramids was carved after the pyramids were built. The pyramids predate the people that y'all relay it to. And this is why understanding is not being grasped. Now, me personally, I don't care about the pyramids or the pyramid texts. Me understanding machinery ain't gonna do nothing for me with this life. Y'all have to grasp that. All the men who claim to know the pyramid texts and the ancient people of Kem can't explain to you nothing about death or life that makes true sense. No one says do this, do that, and you good to go, where it actually lines up and makes sense. I mean, we at a point where if you're speaking to people and they tell you and you ask them a question about the spirit, you don't get a solid answer where you can say, okay, now I can go and observe this thing and look into it and know exactly what it is. And this is the trickery of men. Because if I don't tell you physically what the spirit is, or physically what God is, then you can never see if I'm right or wrong. You're stuck in limbo. And this is where we've been at for 1,000 years. Stuck in limbo because everything is invisible now. And this is the trick of men, who are not truly wise, but they know men cannot prove them wrong. Mind you, everything is physical. So when you're being explained about a spirit, it should be something that you can see and look into, as opposed to just being the breath of life, or air, or the divine essence of a man. You can't do anything when someone tells you that. If I tell you your spirit is the divine essence that is within you, what can you do with that? You like, okay, where is it at? And what exactly is it? So I can look into this thing and understand what this thing is, being as though it's truly me. And this is why men are lost and have no connection to their spiritual. Because the spirit is invisible. It's the essence of life that is within you, but you can't do nothing. What am I doing with that? How can I acquire knowledge with that? And this is how we're being taught. Nothingness. This is greatness, this is woo, 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 woo. But it's nothingness because I can't feel it. I can't do nothing with it. And then that's when you just don't understand. You have to do this or do that to become connected to understand or grasp what's being said. And it's like, that's bullshit. That have nothing to do with learning. This is how you go off into a cult. This is how you go off into being brainwashed and controlled. Because now you're being taught not to see. You're being taught to walk through this earth blindly and someone else to guide you. This is how Christianity teaches you. Close your eyes, walk this life blindly. The Lord will carry you. Who is the Lord? Some invisible man that's going to come down from the heavens. And you can't do nothing with none of this. This is why people are running around crazy, not acquiring any type of knowledge of nothing. Mind you, you was made in the image of God, but you learn from men, as opposed to learning what the all created and is. Look around you. You're going to learn from looking and observing, connecting. You're not going to learn from doing this, reading a book that a man wrote. You're not going to learn from sitting down, listening to a man. Y'all putting all these men in high, and I'm not just talking about the followers, because the teachers got teachers. It's almost crazy. Everybody's a follower, even the teachers. The teachers got teachers, they teachers got teachers. And the same shit is being passed down. And this is how you know if you smart. If you can say exactly what the teacher before you said, and you know all the information that the teacher before you put out for the people. If you know these things, then this means you're a scholar and you're smart. Mind you. How? Just because you can memorize what another person said and wrote, and you can name a whole bunch of things that men wrote and said, it doesn't make you a scholar in life. It just means you're a good rememberer. We have remembering and knowing a lot of people who are supposedly smart. We know this is knowledge. So if you can name Dr. Ben, Phil Valentine, and you can name all the books they wrote and speak their words that they say. If you can do these things, then you're a scholar and you're smart. Mind you, that has nothing to do with intelligence. Every man is supposed to acquire his knowledge from learning from the earth. Basically, it's one teacher, and we are all supposed to learn individually from that and connect the knowledge that we have from that amongst each other. That is the reference, that is the source. Anything I say, that is the reference, that is the source. Now, that's not to say you can't read what I say in books, and you can't go to Google and see, oh shit, what Solace said this. Truth is everywhere. It just got a lot of dumb shit on it. So you gonna see everything I say somewhere. But the truth is to try to see what I say within the earth. Because once you can see it that way, then you can see it the way I see it. And if you see it the way I see it, then you're on the right path. Because you're not seeing it or hearing it from a man. You're seeing it for yourself. It makes a big difference. When I'm talking to you and I'm teaching you, I'm not teaching you to listen to me. That's why I always say universal knowledge. I'm not saying this is Solace knowledge. Universal knowledge. I am teaching you how to deal with that. Stop dealing with that dumb shit. Because that's not getting you nowhere. And it ain't get the people before you nowhere. And you know that is a fact because look where we are. So how long are we going to keep passing down this information that we pass down that gets us nowhere? We've been speaking of aliens for years. No one has truly seen an alien yet. In a sense where we've all seen. Aliens are like Jesus, and they're like Santa Claus. Only 1 or 2 people come forth and say, I've seen it. We can't acquire knowledge like that. Like, let's be real. We grown. If it is likened to Santa Claus, this is your first lesson to know it's fake. So if Santa Claus brings children presents when they're good for the year, and then at the end of the year, he brings them presents, and in Jesus, if you're good throughout your life, and at the end of your life, he'll bring you good favor, then you just got to have a level of understanding to say, okay, that cannot work like that. If they tricked me when I was 6 with Santa Claus, I can be tricked again when I'm grown with this religion shit. So we just got to grasp that and start to fully understand that. Then when you understand that, then you can understand, okay, in the story, Jesus was a man. And men held him in high reverence. Yet, he may not even be real. So now you can look at the real men that you see men holding in high reverence, and then you can understand how men can do this to anything. Men can hold the dumbest motherfucker up as if he's a genius. And men will follow this man for thousands of years and the things he said. And this is how men become lost and more lost and more lost. Because you're listening to men as opposed to listening to the universe and the earth. You'll listen to ancient Kemetic scholars tell you this and that about ancient Kemet. Tell you this and that about Ra. Mind you, if you forget what they saying and you look with your eyes, you can clearly see that the inners of the brain is the eye of Ra. Now, if the eye of Ra is the inners of the brain, then you already know there lies the message. Ra is within you, within the brain. If you can grasp that and you know, well, the spirit is supposed to be within me too. So Ra is the spirit of God that all religions speak of. And it is within your brain. So what we call a spirit is Ra. So if you're a Kemetic follower, you shouldn't even say spirit. When you're speaking of your spirit, you should say Ra. That would be the wording for it. That is what they were saying. And then the reverence to the sun was to let you know that Ra will become a sun. So whatever lies within your brain that is truly you, it will ascend to be a star. That was the connection they were trying to relay. Simple. There's many things in ancient Kemetic things that I look at and I don't fully grasp. But I don't let men influence my thoughts because I know they have their own eyes. And their eyes are not any better than mine. And they don't know either. Because we don't know who made this. We don't know who drew the pictures on it and wrote on it. None of us know this. So for me to say he is right over me, or this ancient scholar from 2,000 years ago was right over me, is absurd, because the pyramids predate all of us and the writings on it. So at best, all we can do is all observe and know that in knowing what's written on that is not going to do anything for you in life. You knowing the pyramids is not going to make your life better today or tomorrow. You know that. You knowing the pyramid text is not going to teach you what you need to know when you die. You know that. Why do I say that? Because if it was known, it would have been known. The pyramid's been here for almost 10,000 years. Probably longer. That's how long the pyramid's been here. You telling me in 10,000 years we should have in science textbooks, everybody should know what to do upon death. Everybody. It should be like birthdays, where everybody know, oh, we celebrate your birthday. That's the day you was born and you know everything about birthdays. We should all know death in this manner. Mind you. No one knows death. Everyone has say something different that don't add up to shit. And this is my point. So we got to learn how to acquire knowledge and know what the fuck we are doing. I'm just trying to get y'all a level to understand how to acquire that knowledge, how to observe and connect the dots. Whatever I'm telling you, you can see it, and that is the message. Stop listening and start to see. That's why you have eyes. The eyes are the connection to Ra. So if you're trying to get true knowledge, you must see. You must not hear. Hearing is how motherfuckers trick you. Vibrations control you through the words. When words are not spoken, no one's being controlled. Everyone is seeing for themselves. You have to acquire knowledge as an individual. It is not for you to ask me. What you just said, brother, where can I reference that at? You have to find the reference yourself. This is how you can figure out if it's truth. If I say the sperm is the spirit, you can't go to Google and say, is the sperm the spirit, and expect to get a yes or no. Knowledge doesn't work that way. If it did, everyone would know everything. Google, the book, is not God. So you asking Google that question or looking in the book for that answer is not how you're going to get it. How you're going to figure out if the sperm is the spirit, you must observe sperm and read up on sperm. Learn how to separate what's opinions. And this is how you can acquire knowledge. Look for sperm everywhere. You have to know how to search for knowledge. The spirit is in all life. So now you must look, is the sperm in all life? Now start to look through life and see if it has sperm. This is how you see if what a man says makes sense. You don't see if what a man says makes sense because it was written in this chapter in a book. Because all that means is that what that man said is what another man said. And another man said. But that is not truly saying that it's right. Motherfucker will say, where's the reference? And he'll say, in this book. Okay, so all that means is that that man who wrote that book said that also. But that don't mean it's right. So we just have to understand this, man. Now, as far as universal knowledge go, and me understanding all things that has to do with life, I grasp. As far as y'all ancient history and y'all ancient books and y'all ancient civilizations, I could care less about it. I don't have all-knowing knowledge of what the fuck they were trying to say. Because they were men. Men always trying to say something. It don't matter. We have to truly grasp that. The things we doing right now don't matter to the civilization that's coming after us. Them understanding us is not going to make them have knowledge. Them understanding us is just going to have them confused, because we all know in this day and times we're all confused. We're all going different ways. So I feel sorry for the ancient for the future people who look at us and say, "Oh my God, look at the things they built and the way they dressed with. They had to have all knowing knowledge." I feel sorry for them because we don't. And it's the same way with ancient Kim. We see all of that and we think, "Oh man, they had to have all knowing knowledge. Look at the mummies. They had to know what they was doing." Why do we think that way? That's fool. Why? Just because you see things that make you get desirable and say, "Oh, I want big ass shit. I want to be buried like that. I want to have big ass period." So now you pull for that and you say, "Oh, that's the way to know all things." And it's like, come on, man, get real. The way to know all things is to know life. Pull for things that have to do with life. The sperm is the spirit. You are the sperm. You went into the egg. You know that. This is how life begins. This is how a baby is born. From the sperm cell going into the ovum. If you know